Welcome to this episode of Superconnector Stories. I'm really excited for this one because you're about to meet someone who's kind of just like me, but you can make your assessment. So let's start out with, I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about who Jonny is, and then we're going to talk about how we met and why our fancy little dots connected. And I think we really might go onto a journey to talk about your story and what you've built. And then we want people to walk away with some ideas on how to connect others, right? Because you're a true super connector. All right.
From the master herself.
So Amira literally just met you. So I'm not going to put you on the spot to describe him, but if you have anything to add. Jonny Imerman is a true super connector. I signed off my emails saying your favorite super connector, and suddenly I feel guilty because I'm like, Jonny is a true super connector.
I'm trying to keep up with Michal.
I know.
It's not easy.
He started something called Imerman Angels. We'll get into that in a moment. He runs a special clothing company, right?
To help nonprofits.
Help
them get the word out. That's our whole mission. We want more people to know and be aware so people can take advantage of so many great causes and free services that are out there.
That's right. He's a Detroit man. He's Michigan.
Go Blue.
Yeah.
Michigan people out there.
Yeah. So anything to add before we go on?
Not yet.
Okay, we'll get there.
I'm going to listen. I've got plenty to add later.
All right. So let's start out, Jonny. How did we meet?
We met and bonded immediately. I just kind of knew I liked you right away because you're like so curious. I can feel it, right? You can feel that when you meet. And I think, what's more interesting in the world than other humans, right? Like living things, animals too. I love animals, but like humans are so interesting. And the two of us, I feel like we just asked each other questions. We were both like asking questions over each other, which was very fun. But we met through a group called Summit Series, which is an awesome community. And it brings people together who care about ideas. There's a huge social impact component to these ideas. They're generally people who care about solving real problems that make everybody better for the win-win. And it's sort of like TED Talks by day, party by night. I'm not going to lie to you guys. It's like a work hard, play hard, alpha type crew who wants to build stuff, but then wants to like relax and have fun. And it's just a great community of people.
Yeah.
A lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of founders, a lot of people have taken those big steps.
So it's a conference on a cruise ship, right?
That's it.
And
a lot of genius works that way. The way you described it, you work hard, play hard, work hard, play hard.
Just do it all, right? Like we're only living once. Do it all.
What's cool is we were both on the cruise, and then like about a month later was an event, and that's where I met you. And you're one of my like deepest, truest connections that I met through summits. It was post cruise, and you can imagine being on a ship with 4,000 people, and someone's beautiful everywhere you go. There's so many people,
and they're all brilliant and spectacular in their own realm.
I possibly got 2.5 hours of sleep in 5 days. What about you?
Nobody sleeps.
I was about to say it's probably average for that entire crew of people. I bet you they're all non-sleepers.
That's it. Everybody's in fifth gear all the time. There's no downshifting.
They make 25 hours out of every day.
Yeah, it's like you don't want to miss a minute. And one beautiful thing about this community is like everyone's like building and working on stuff, and it's like a lot of big dreams. But like for these events, the phones are down. People are looking eye to eye. They want to connect.
A lot of collaboration.
Right. You put out your hand to shake a hand. Yeah. They're going to bring you in and hug you.
It's like where Uber was,
But do you attribute that maybe to the community that you're brought in on? Right. There's a lot of, right, exactly. The quality of people that are there, the safety, or at least the trust that you already have bought into. Yeah.
Definitely, Amira. It's the community. It's the people. The whole thing grew as sort of friends of friends of friends.
Right.
So it kind of makes sense logically. Right. That like these people would all get along because everything came from a small group of friends and just kept
growing.
Just kept growing organically. But it is the community, no doubt. That's what makes it great.
Because you could argue in that environment, it could be highly competitive too, So instead you're describing people putting their phones down and welcoming you and shaking your hand. That's maybe not necessarily what you would expect if you got all the genius and bigwigs from all over to get on a boat.
Yeah.
Yeah. So true. It's
special.
really not competitive, which is great. I work in social impact, so that's kind of what I'm used to.
Well, that's what I mean. It's
right. They want
unusual
wins, and you're like a healthcare. Feel like healthcare, medical professionals, doctors. Like those are people that are helping people. Like it's a social impact by nature. But that kind of breeds people like that. That's kind of the group we're in.
So let's go back to the night where you and I met. So we're in this like bowling alley, right? And I'm
On the boat.
I'm at a no. This is post boat.
Right after though.
Okay, now
I'm
you're
in
off.
New York. We're off the boat. I'm in New York for a matchmaker conference, and to rip me away from matchmakers, because I realized in a room full of like 100 matchmakers in New York, I stood out as the most extroverted.
That
So
does not
to-
surprise
No shock.
Surprise anyone.
For Amira and me.
And
You
you
gotta predict that.
literally ripped me away. But I was like, I want to come to this bowling alley event, right? It was like karaoke and stuff.
Yep.
And the thing that people need to understand, or maybe, I don't know, just about my career, but maybe it's for a lot of other careers, is that when I go out and I tell people what I do, people are instantly curious and I get a barrage of questions. And suddenly I need to turn on this like kind of performance. And, I get it.
Speech, a rehearsal almost that goes on in your head when you're answering those kind of questions that you get routinely.
Exactly. Who, what, where, when, why. And Jonny was the first person I met, and you were sitting with two other people. And he started to ask me questions, and there was just something, it wasn't the questions you asked me, there was something about your energy that completely disarmed me. And and that happens to me so rarely when people ask me about matchmaking. And I was like, okay, I'll share with you.
I mean, I can comment on that right now because we just met, and I will say you asked me a question that I get asked countless times, but it was the way that you asked it, and I'll answer specifics. It's the warmth, the tone of voice, the smile, and the eye contact. So I think those things change the way that those kinds of questions come about. There's an instant connection, even in the way that you connect with the way you look at somebody, or the way that the tone of voice that you bring when you ask a question, even the closeness, your body proximity, your body language,
All those
right. So all the nonverbal ways that we communicate,
uncomfortable.
exactly. And I think there's also a piece of authenticity that comes through with that. You can get asked those questions, and then you kind of revert to this almost robotic or rehearsed part of your brain. But if it's asked in a way that's, like you said, disarming, you answer it differently or authentically in a way that maybe you haven't before.
Like I was just truly present. And I was like, who is this man? And this is before I learned anything about you. And we're about to get into your story in a moment. But then, I went to go back to meet up with the matchmakers, and I was like, I just met the most.
Who is this person?
I was like, I think I just met my twin. Like, who's this amazing man?
You actually, he's my male twin. That's how I heard of you.
I was just blown away by your energy. And then that night, I got like 4 or 5 emails from Jonny introducing me to other people. And I was like, sorry, usually I introduce people to other people. Nobody does it for me. And I was just so shocked by the experience. Do you remember that or no?
Well, you are good energy. Let me tell you that. I knew right away too. I'm like, this girl, she's curious, looks you in the eye. I totally agree, Amira. Like it's somebody's energy. And you can kind of tell, like, I can tell, like, you've done the work. Like, I know myself, like, my mind is not naturally centered. Like, I do a lot of work. I meditate every day. I go to the gym every day. I found a diet that, like, works for me. Like, but when you do all those things, I think in life, all of us, if you have, it's hard, right? It's not easy. But if you do all those things, then you can be the energy that makes you the happiest. And then you're just more present when you're with people, right? And you're calmer with people. But that's how I felt with you. I'm like, you're like, you vibe high, obviously, because you get excited around people, as do I. We both love people. We were so similar in that way. But you also are very focused, which I appreciate, right? When you meet someone, as are you, Amira. We met like a half hour ago, but like you look in the eye, you can feel the energy, you feel comfortable. It meant a lot to me that you were able to answer some deep questions that I asked you, that you felt comfortable to share that.
But that's, not necessarily something that comes with every interaction. It's something that,
True.
You
True.
don't necessarily feel. And you asked me, how you guys are similar, and you both have mentioned the word curiosity. I'd say, curiosity can be twofold, right? You can get people who are curious, who are asking questions, but not necessarily with the most pure or genuine of intent.
No, that's true.
Right. And
you are right.
And also even not necessarily bad intent, but curiosity for their own version of what they want to know versus to help or to want to bridge or to want to connect. And I think that both of you are super curious, but in a way that is really unique and authentic and genuine, which I think isn't always the way curiosity sort of is pursued.
That's a great point. And like, I mean, I personally, you and I have talked about this a little bit, I think, but like, I read a lot about Buddhism. I mean, I kind of was raised Jewish, but like, I'm kind of a Boo Jew. I love
Jew
like,
boo.
Boo Jew, Boo.
Okay.
Whichever way you want to go.
I think there's other pieces of other religions too. Like you take the best of like all, right? But like the whole Buddhist philosophy is like adding value first, right?
It's like, what do you want to do with that knowledge? Why are you asking me that question?
Right.
And so when you give an answer, especially to something that's intimate, you know, I feel already, having met you for a minute, that there's a trust in that the information that I give you is going to a place of curiosity that's genuine, that's going to be used in a way that's beautiful or connection based, as opposed to something that's self-fulfilling or self-serving, or even just for nonsense, because I've answered that question 700 times. Maybe I don't want to for the 700th and first time.
Which I totally respect, right?
Yeah. So I think that kind of speaks to some of the similarities between the two of you.
So let's do your story. Tell us your
well, I'm very lucky. I was 26. I got diagnosed with pretty advanced cancer. I went to Michigan for college. I'm from Michigan. So just a few years out of college. And I was in a bar with 3 guys and 3 girls. We're shooting pool. I had a bunch of friends that were in grad school in Ann Arbor, some law school, some MBA guys. And so I was living in Detroit area. I was working commercial real estate, wore a suit and tie every day. It feels like a different
world
person. Yeah.
oh my God, I didn't know that.
Scrub days. Yeah.
I was like, I mean, talk about like major medical things going on in your life. Sometimes it just sets you on a different path, and like realizing that, wait, we're not going to be here forever. Like, what do we want to do and do it now? So I was in that bar. We're hanging out, 3 guys and 3 girls. I was in the gym that day. I felt totally fine. And all of a sudden, I had the worst pain of my life flip on like a light switch. And I know you guys don't have this organ, but trust me, the testicles are very sensitive organs on men. And it felt like someone took a knife and stabbed me all of a sudden violently in the left testicle, very pinpoint. I knew exactly where it dropped the pool stick. I literally physically doubled over. I couldn't even stand up straight because the pain was so intense. And my friends were like, whoa, what just happened? Like, we'll carry you to the car. Let's take you to the hospital. And like a typical bullheaded, 26-year-old male, you're like, oh, I'm fine. I'll figure it out. I probably got a knee in the groin. You start rationalizing really quick in your own brain, even though it was like the worst pain. So I hobble out of the bar by myself. I like wave my friends off, really stupid. But I get into the car and I swing my legs up in the car by myself. And the pain is so bad that my legs are like locked in this like fetal position. And I'm like, I can't reach the pedals.
Oh my God, Jonny.
And then at this point, I'm like, well, I'm like crying in pain, literally physically crying. And I'm like, I got to get there. Like, this is the only thing I can do is start pushing on my quads. Start to push my legs to loosen and get a leg down so I can touch a pedal, drive the car. And I finally am able to do that, really unsafe. But I go to the hospital, and then, as you know, the medical world very well, I had a wonderful doc, and he ran some tests and did an ultrasound and looked at it, ran a blood report. And then, a little bit later, he's sitting down with me, running his hands through his hair, scratching his head, being like, listen, kid, I'm really sorry. You're 26. I hate to drop this on you, but this is advanced cancer. And this is testicular cancer, and we think it's spread. I hadn't been to a doctor in 5 years before that.
26.
Yeah, I went when I was 21, a junior year in Ann Arbor.
Not many go for their routine physicals in their young 20s.
So wait, did he like check your genitals? Did he like touch
Yeah.
everything?
Felt it.
It's like something most men don't do in like a routine. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, even if they go to their regular GPs, I'll be honest, you expect, of course, very thorough. And if that's their main complaint, of course, they get checked. But you hope that in all family practices and general practitioners are doing, genital and rectal exams, at least some routine, regular basis, and teaching patients to do self-exams. Exactly. But that doesn't always happen in practice. So between patients not necessarily going annually for regular checkups, especially young, healthy patients, the insurance issues of just getting annuals covered in the first place, and then doctors just having a variation in practice and having caseloads that are through the roof, if it's not their main complaint. So these things sometimes fly under the radar.
Yeah. I mean, you can see how like a young guy, as you know very well, and we all know young men, but like we just think we're fine. We'll rationalize everything. So it's like Right. Unless a doctor is really, upfront about that or really checking those things. Lots of times it doesn't get checked, right? And guys will come up with anything. I mean, women can do it too, but it's usually the dudes that are like, oh, we're fine. Just, muscle through it, which is a scary mentality. Like, we all
There's a
need
lot of
to teach people.
socialization to that, right? Like in our community,
Yeah.
men are supposed to be tough. There's a lot of genderization, right? So men aren't supposed to have complaints and are supposed to suck it up and be tough, and we're not necessarily. And on the flip side,
That's right.
as a young woman who went through health issues, we're sort of poo-pooed the other way. We can have issues and cry, and we're told we're emotional and not having an actual problem. So it goes in obviously both directions, but those genderization elements definitely play a role in whether or not you seek care.
Have you had people say that to you, Amira, directly?
Oh, absolutely.
You're too
So,
emotional about all this?
I'll be honest, having an autoimmune disease and being a woman of brown color, I think both contributed to a very long delay. And I have a very complicated medical picture, so I won't say those were simply the issues.
Yeah.
But when you have an invisible disease, I wasn't in a wheelchair at the time, and you can't see those complaints, and they're pain related or hard to kind of quantify. It's not easy to necessarily be taken seriously. People tell you it's hormones, or you didn't get enough sleep, or you're tired because your kids are giving you a hard time, or that's what you expect when you're a young professional, that kind of stuff. So
Or people just kind of like pushed it off, like,
for a very long time.
because they can't see it. I get what you mean. By being
Medicine is
visible.
limited too to what it can find and what it can diagnose.
Yeah.
Autoimmune disease is challenging in the first place. We have markers that we look for in the blood. But if medicine hasn't identified it yet and doesn't have a marker for yet, does it mean it doesn't exist?
Yeah.
Of course not, right? There are plenty of things that we just haven't described or haven't identified, or we don't have a biochemical marker to look for.
Right.
But in medicine, we want something finite. Doctors want to look for a finite answer. And I think, unfortunately, and I say we, me too, have a tendency, if we can't pin it to something or we can't find that marker that fits, instead of validating and saying, yeah, there's something here, something going on, maybe we don't know or don't have a name for it yet, we say, okay, you're fine. Go back out the door. We'll see you again in 3 more months, see if it gets worse, see what happens, see if it evolves. But there's not a lot of validation for what we haven't defined yet. So I just didn't fit a box.
Yeah.
And then having an invisible disease and being a woman, I think, a lot was attributed to lifestyle or emotions or hormones or being postpartum, those types of things.
Right. After kids, even, right? That someone could be like, oh, it's this.
Oh, you're
it's
just
that.
tired, or you're just nursing, or you're dehydrated. And all of those things certainly are impactful on your body. I'm certainly not downplaying those things. But it is hard to tease apart, I think, symptoms of autoimmune disease and fatigue from being postpartum, right? You can remember those phases. They're really disorienting and tiring. But when you
Hair's
have
falling out.
Yeah, right. There are very, very clear physiologic things that happen to you. So I don't put blame anywhere, but I did certainly feel at very specific times with very specific doctors that I wasn't taken seriously, or that my symptoms were minor in the grand scheme of things. And I even had a doctor, my rheumatologist, say to me after I became paralyzed, sitting in an neuro ICU, he came to see me, or it was a step down unit. And he came up to see me and he goes, this is after I'd seen him maybe a year or two for autoimmune issues that were somewhat poo-pooed and not given any kind of real treatment. And he goes, well, the gauntlet dropped, as in it's real, right? Like
That was the word.
those were the exact words, verbatim.
Sorry,
The gauntlet dropped. And I'm thinking, like I knew it the whole time. Like, glad you got to the party. Like, good for you. Now I'm paralyzed. Cool. And there were tons of warning signs and issues and multiple organ systems that were having problems beforehand. So by the time it reached my spinal cord,
What do you want people to take away as they listen to? I don't know.
well, we got on a little bit of a
Yeah.
digression.
Go to the doctor more or to pay attention to their body?
I think we're also talking about a specific cohort. We're talking about young people.
Yeah.
Right. So I think medicine is tough in this field, in this cohort in particular, for two reasons. One, it has to also come from the person. You have to be proactive about your health. You need to be doing screenings at home.
Yeah.
100%.
And you need to have a primary care doctor. You also need to have insurance.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the politics of that, right?
Yeah.
We need insurance companies that allow you to do screenings and proactive conversations and annuals, not just put out fires.
And you need to do manual exams. Like I was talking to you about how in my sex ed courses, like we would pass around like the scrotum,
And how you
not
do
somebody's
it, yeah.
scrotum, sorry, but it would be
A
like
model.
a model, like a model. And we would
Breast exam.
feel, and
Right.
we would
Same
feel
breast
breasts
exam.
and we would feel the testicles to feel how it would feel to do like a self-examination, you know,
Like,
and just normalize it, you know, instead of sexualize
It's just a
it.
body part.
It's
Yeah.
just a body part.
Well, and if we don't talk about it and don't do the exams, I was thinking about your story, and I don't want to make any assumptions medically, but from the description, it sounds like you torsed. It sounds like the mass caused a torsion. And if that was the case,
Is that right?
you wouldn't have known until the mass was large enough to torse you,
Right.
unless you had had someone regularly checking for the mass.
No, you're right.
Is that right?
So the cancer, testicular cancer is, I think overall, like the second fastest growing. It's like a very
mass gets
aggressive
large
one.
enough.
It's choriocarcinoma, which I'm sure you're probably familiar with. Mine was like a mix of a few different types of cells, but actually the same one Lance Armstrong had was mostly choriocarcinoma, really aggressive. His spread all the way to his brain, 2 tumors in his brain. But because it was growing so fast, exactly, Amira, there was a blood vessel.
That got twisted.
Exactly. And that caused this
That's the
intense
pain. And that's
Without
part of
that,
the
I probably would
problem.
be dead.
You wouldn't have known. And so the
2 months,
issue
3 months. That's
often,
big deal.
exactly,
Wait, so are you
is the
serious?
pain is what saved you. The torsion is what notified
doctor.
you that you had a mass.
Without that red flag,
correct.
2-3 more months. I mean, I hadn't been to a doctor in 5
metastatic
years.
to
I wasn't about to like
squirrels.
go to the doctor, right? I'm just being real. Like I wasn't. I would be
Exactly
I would-
my point. So
I
we're
would-
talking about this young cohort. So if you're not doing proactive care, screening care, seeing annual doctors for proactive health care, then a lot of these things aren't going to be found unless something catastrophic does happen.
You got to be proactive,
Wow.
right? And not only like with checking your body, but I also think the other things. I mean, you're a doctor, I'm not, but like diet, exercise. I mean,
Sleep,
all these
sleep.
proactive sleep,
Well-
right? All these being proactive.
not being lonely? Loneliness is a killer. That too. Yeah.
You were describing even your day currently, going to the gym and eating well. And I was thinking to myself, well, you do a great job of regulating. And that's why you're present. That's why you're emotionally even keeled. It's
Yeah.
because you take care of the parts of your body that need to be fulfilled, right? You have to eat, you have to sleep, you have to hydrate, you have to have some nutritional balance, you have to connect to people, you have to cry, right? You have to express your emotions. If you don't do those things, then you aren't going to be present.
I totally agree, Amira. And it actually helps you connect better with people. I'm talking about like super connectors like you, Michal. Like if you want to connect better, when you do those things, number one, you're healthier. But number two, you're able to be present.
You're not itching out of yourself.
Fully
Yes.
here with people. And I don't know how anybody could be a super
embodied.
connector without being present, because you got to listen. You got to understand who someone is, why they're who they are, what they love, what they're looking for, right? Like, you know this as such a connector. Like, if you're not taking that in and you're not present when you're connecting with them, how are you going to understand them to know who's a good connection for them?
I know.
Right?
So
The
fast forward
step
to what
is
you created. Fast forward just really fast. Like
Yeah,
tell
so
us
all
how
of
you
this experience,
Yeah.
right? That
leads you to what to create
that
what?
you went through.
So get diagnosed, go through 2 years of chemo and
hard
surgery.
parts, the chemo, and then
Yeah,
we'll
just
come
the
back
chemo,
to it, I'm
chemo,
sure.
no
Go
big
ahead.
deal.
But I went through, it was like, basically a couple of years, 8 hours a day, chemo pretty much every day. But, after all that, towards the end of all that, I met a group of young survivors, and it was like this just awesome random thing that we're all in our 20s. We're like the only young people there. But we didn't meet in the beginning. We met at the end. And then we all became friends. We had everything in common. We're like so the same. And we had questions about each other. Like we just
So
got each other.
validating,
Right.
yeah.
Such a community. And then we're like, well, how do we give back? The way to give back is all of us know a story that we wish we knew on week 1, day 1. Right? When you get diagnosed, PICC lines,
So much
catheters,
knowledge of what is about to happen.
jargon,
New words.
choriocarcinoma, where someone like Amira, you would get it. But the average person like me, It's stressful. It's isolating. You're like, I don't know
beyond
what's going on. A port,
you.
my arm. Like, what's a port? A plastic chip's gonna go into my body. Like, yeah, exactly. That's a port.
Johnny knows what support is. Yeah. Yeah.
exactly
To
right.
hurt. Yes.
Yes, you know it personally and professionally.
But the point is, it would be completely alienating to you, and it's happening to your body. So I can only imagine how scary.
It is.
Because it's these question marks.
Truly
It's
scary.
new. So we created this nonprofit that's about 20 years ago. The small group of survivors kept growing. We said, let's recruit more survivors. And now we have over 16,000 survivors and family members who've been through the journey of all different types.
Across the world.
Across the world, over 120 countries. Every race, color, religion, background, age. We got people in the 90s. We got little kids that have beaten ALL leukemia, and we match the parents with other parents. But ultimately, the goal is we built this community of awesome humans who want to find purpose and meaning, and they want to give back, and they want to say something good came out of that, right? And what we do is we plug them in one-on-one as a connection to somebody diagnosed with the same thing.
On the same day that they are diagnosed with that cancer.
So how does the match process take place? Because you mentioned there's a wide breadth and variety and diversity to your group. So what, if you're doing it on a one-to-one level, what makes that match?
How do we make it? So we have a team of 12 that are full-time, and we raise about $3 million a year. We're like a medium-sized nonprofit, enough to function.
That's substantial, yeah.
But enough that we can, keep people full-time. So when somebody's diagnosed, the day of is the ideal. But sometimes, the nurse, social worker, doctor, or however, the word doesn't get to them, which is a big reason that I'm so into awareness for causes. Because if people are aware when they get diagnosed, they use free services like this. So let's say you're a woman and you're 30 and you live in LA and you get diagnosed with stage 2 cervical cancer and your name's Amy. So they reach out to Imerman Angels. Usually they sign up online, which is great. We set up a Calendly call with them. We use Calendly to be able to say, what's a good time for you tomorrow at 2? One of our team members gets on the phone with them. We talk to them. What are you going through? So it's very hand-holding. It's not all digital in an app. I think that's a different conversation. But I think there is room for apps and doing this through tech, especially with younger
A
people.
little more personal in this particular context goes a long way.
We're really personal. We talk
Really
to
goes a long
everybody. And exactly. And we get to know you. And then, you're a skateboarder. Oh, you like skiing. Oh, you are a doctor. I mean, we have people that have cancer. There's some doctors. Yeah. Like, and we try to match you with we do match you with the closest person in terms of age, gender, cancer type, treatments. If you want somebody your race because you think you're just going to connect more, great. Your religion, great. Sexual orientation, great.
Do they get to decide those elements? That was my question. So with all the variety you described, do they put like right? So
it's simple.
Essentially, like level what they want in and decide what is more important.
That's exactly right. That's why we talk to everybody, because we want to ask you. Like, sometimes a 19-year-old girl who's at the University of Richmond that gets cancer is like, I don't need to talk specifics. I want to talk to another young girl who's a senior in college who had cancer in college and knows what it's like to be the ball girl on campus.
Or arguably, she may want to talk to someone who's 32, who's gone through the process and had kids or didn't.
Yeah,
or
fertility.
That was my point. So everyone's going to have potentially a different, but you have a way to sort of categorize that and figure out what their interests are and match them specifically.
There's only one way, is like to get to know you. We have a conversation. We tell our team, like, as long as they want to talk, we'll talk.
But it's so unique, though, because at least in comparison to the things that I know that exist, a lot of it's done on demographics purely, right? Either the diagnosis, the age, whatever, you can input directly to an app or an application. So, it sounds like this is really done specifically to somebody's person, someone's interest. And I think
it really is.
Probably speaks a lot to why those connections grow.
Yeah, it's the quality of the match. We always say the two most important
That's exactly
things.
Right. The quality.
You said the quality of the match based on what you want or that person wants. You tell us, and we're going to look at we're lucky to be the world's largest network of survivors. Yeah, we're going to find the person that might be a different country or a different state or live next door to you.
Say that with your chest. Say that again. You're the largest what?
The largest community.
There you go.
Yes.
Say that with your
Of
chest, Jonny.
survivors. That's right. You said, yeah. No, I said, yes. Say that proudly. Right.
Yeah.
The largest community of survivors that you.
And what did you said to me today about not fighting alone?
It's all about community. Life is about community, right? But like the only reason why this idea works is because survivors care.
Yeah.
And they're willing to give their time.
Yeah.
For no money.
And their
No
experience.
publicity.
Yeah.
And their story, which oftentimes is
Intimate.
very difficult to dig in. I know you relate
Traumatic,
to that.
and
Sometimes
there's a lot of
like
grief that's
you don't
involved.
want to think about it, right? But they do it because they know somebody needs it. And they step up and they step in and they say, I will give my Sunday night for 2-3 hours to talk to this person, or Wednesday or whatever it is. But they give their time to help people. So like right now, all the time, like that's all our group does. We do one thing, is make sure that someone diagnosed with any form of cancer is able to find that uniquely similar survivor who's out there and wants to help.
So beautiful.
I was about to say the word beautiful came into my mind at the exact same second you said it. And partly because it's almost like a well-oiled machine, because there's a healing and a cathartic part too to the person who's giving back, who's gone through the process.
100%.
So it just feeds itself. It feeds itself, you know.
You are so evolved that you see that. Like a lot of people are surprised by that.
It's like they keep coming back for
Yes.
themselves because it's healing and cathartic. It's almost probably,
it helps us too.
to be honest, they probably go through parts of grief they've buried, you know, and never touched on in their own process. And it's easier because it's now through the vision or the perspective of somebody else.
That's right.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of healing that, right. That's why I said it's almost such a beautiful thing because
It's a
it
true
self-fulfills.
win-win.
It's a self-fulfilling
I love that.
system.
I mean, you're so spot on.
Can I touch on to go back to how we met? So the way that I do my connections are a lot of times they're in the moment when I'm meeting someone and I get this like intuitive hit, like a ding or whatever. And when I met you and you shared with me about Imerman Angels and your journey, I just like said in my mind, I was like, I need you to meet my mother. And you were like, okay, you know. And so the reason is because shout out to my mother, is that we had she is wonderful. We just had a very big trauma in our family because my mom left the Soviet Union to move to Israel, and she had a brother that she was very close to, and he got testicular cancer. And I think because it was testicular, it was like embarrassing because people felt it had something to do with sex or something like that. And it was just like really quick, and he died really quickly. And it resulted in, you know, my grandfather having a stroke, and it was just like devastating. You know, my mother was so far away, couldn't go back, you know, and this is all while I was born. I never got to meet him. And so I've always felt like he was this sort of person I always knew about, but never got to meet. And I couldn't talk about it, but I always knew about testicular cancer. When I met you, I was like, Jonny, I want you to meet my mother. You know, just like boom, just like that, you know? And so I said, Jonny, I want you to, you know, come to Philadelphia, like come for Shabbat. And you're like, great, I have like 1,000 friends in Philadelphia. And I was like, how? You don't even live there. I don't have
1,000 friends in every part of the country. Just purely on your database alone.
I think she's got the most. She has the most friends.
I was just like, I have some friends in Philadelphia. Johnny was like, great. And like, Johnny was like, I'm going to meet, he's like, I'm going to
Philly.
Philly.
We're great. Yeah, we are.
Great.
Yeah.
I will say
great.
I'm one of them, but we are the best.
Yeah, I mean, Philly's great.
Sounds like a true Philly person, right? We come with the ego too.
We do. So
Confidence, the Philly confidence.
we have that. So Johnny comes to Philly for 12 hours. He books a lot of meetings back to back. And I was like, whoa, okay. Feels like I'm meeting my twin. And at the end of the night, we went to my mom's and I was like, Mom, this is Johnny. Because my mom's like, everybody's always invited for Shabbat. I was like, great. And I bring Johnny in, and Johnny comes over, and Johnny was like, so nice to meet you. And I was like, Johnny, share your story. And you share your story with my mom. And I'm like, great, they're finally connecting. And
Your mom had,
yeah, and
some
my
grief.
mom went into this state that I didn't see her in. That was her grief, and I didn't anticipate that like it would be. I thought she would, like hear your story and be like, oh, that's beautiful. But I didn't anticipate like what it would feel like for her to know that like what happened to her brother didn't have to happen, you know, and how hard it would be for her to meet you. And it was like one of those things where I was like, shit, what have I done? You know what I mean?
But it was almost like exactly what we just talked about. I think in some regard, it opens up space for your mom to at least process the grief that even she hasn't been able to process. Because even in some of what you've said, part of what you shared there's, generational stigma, there's social stigma. You're talking about a time frame where, even now there's a lot of social and misguided understanding of testicular cancer or anything that involves a genital or a private part. And so you're talking about a whole nother generation of time. And, your mom probably buried an enormous amount of those emotions, but opening it up isn't a bad thing. I know you probably felt a ton of maybe felt some responsibility for that. But, I think that gives her a chance to process those feelings. I don't think that was a bad thing.
I don't know. It's like
I do agree with that, by the way.
You do?
Your mom's awesome. I think we all love your mom.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. Like sometimes, it's an opportunity.
Yeah, it's an opportunity.
To open up, to work through that. There's obviously still something there if she felt something.
Of course.
And she wasn't maybe allowed to in that old version of her life, right? She was living in a very different world, community, generation, time, I guess her brother, right? So I think how her parents handled that also impacted how much she could process. I just think a lot of those things have shifted and changed with time.
I mean, I do think we're still afraid to talk about
Oh, we absolutely are.
You know what I mean?
I said those social stigmas still carry through to today.
True. I do agree. But
can
and your
you relate
intent
to
was
that?
pure. It wasn't like
That's
you were
exactly
putting her
right.
in a situation.
I know it was pure, but can you connect to that when you make an introduction and then it falls apart or just something like that and you're like,
oh, I've made
It doesn't
bad
go the way you
connections.
expect.
You have to know, right? And then you just try again, right?
How often can you predict those things, right? I mean, often when you throw two people together, you're not necessarily going to be able to predict the emotional response that somebody brings. And if anything, in my opinion, there's no good emotions or bad emotions. I've always felt this way. And if it elicits a strong response, you've done something right. I think bringing out those emotions, they still exist in her. So let her process them.
That's a health. I think
that's a healthy way to see it. That's how I see it. Yeah.
Yeah. I do agree with that. It's healthy you got to work through them all, right? It doesn't just go away.
Exactly. The bad ones too. The quote, bad ones.
It's doing the work.
Right.
Kind of like we were talking about before. Doing the work, right? Those are the most evolved people that have found peace and they're calm because they've put the work in, right? Because we all do. Like you said earlier, Amira, everybody who doesn't have some level of trauma, right? As older you get, everyone has something.
And we compartmentalize that to survive.
Yeah.
Right.
True.
And especially if something is taboo or stigmatized or you don't have a lot of knowledge, you're going to bury that probably a lot deeper because it comes with so much less understanding.
Yeah. Yeah, burying is not healthy.
No, that's my point. So you kind of unlocked it or kind of, loosened the dirt above what was buried, and your mom is such a reflective and smart and thoughtful person that, she can unpack that in her own time,
Yeah, you have to trust people to do
to
that.
do the work.
No,
That's my point. And you can trust your mom to do it in her own way.
I know, but it's just people like you and I, right? It's we should come with a trigger warning.
Right, we are, yeah.
I mean,
we
trigger the
strongly
shit out of
affect people. Yeah. That's not
It's a gift.
Listen,
react. Really. I feel like
Yeah.
you need to get your little hat.
I was thinking a tattoo, but Jews aren't supposed to do tattoos.
Have a little flasher light,
Yeah.
Right.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, just walk the other way. You don't want some
Take it off.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
How about if you want to feel something? No, that sounds inappropriate.
Feel the feels.
Want to feel something?
Yeah.
Feel something
Yeah.
over here. No,
Yeah. Yeah.
that doesn't sound quite right.
Okay, so I wanted to twist it just for a moment and talk about Jonny, what's it like to be an adult and dating and after testicular cancer and how do you address questions about something that feels taboo?
Is that the first date kind of conversation? Does it happen? Do you to get it out and about?
That's a great question. And Amira, you'll appreciate this. This is a crazy stat. I'm not a researcher, but once you meet thousands of cancer survivors over the years and you've mentored a ton of them and you just see trends in the data patterns. So the kids I do too. They're fascinating, right? Why people do
so much.
I know, human patterns, right?
Yeah.
So testicular cancer, 90+% of the cases between 15 years old or between 15 years old and 35 years old. So if you're a male in this country and you're between 15 years old and 35, those 20 years, it's the number one most likely, most common male cancer. But 90% of them are young, right? Now, what I've noticed in the data, which is so fascinating to me, I've seen 13, 12-year-olds sometimes, but 15, 16, 17s, 4-year-old kids, they get testicular cancer. The first step, of course, is removing the testicle. You have to cut the ball out completely. And then you have one. And the goal is if you build your testosterone up enough, you don't even have to take testosterone pills. One is able to replace the other. Human body's amazing, as you know.
Especially when you're young. Yeah.
Especially when you're young, right? But you got to do like a lot of legs and quads. I've learned from all my trainer friends because that brings the T up. And that helps you, especially if you know you only have one, not two. So the kid, this is the fascinating part though. 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds, 15, 16, 17, almost like up to like 18, 19, almost always they opt in for a prosthetic testicle. And then
After that
was
age range,
26, the doctor was like, do you want a plastic testicle? I was like, why would I want that? I was kind of like, it wasn't even like on my radar. I was like, no. And like, this is about purification of the body, right? Let's get the cancer out. I don't want a plastic anything in there. But the older guys like me, 26, 30, 35, almost do not get the testicle.
Wow.
And the reason why, and I figured it out over the years, the younger kids like haven't been with someone or very few partners
Yeah, they have
at
an
that point.
expectation
And
of
they
what
think
they
no one's going to love them unless they have to.
God.
It's really sad, right?
Oh, that breaks my heart.
Well, there's
So
so
you
much
need to kind of-
expectation. Yeah, there's like a anticipation at that age. You haven't even necessarily gone through standard puberty or seen
Yep.
another person's to
And-
even compare.
And let's
Yeah.
be clear, the genitals that you see for the most part is through porn. So it's just like pubes don't exist and
Right.
or
cocks are this big
or,
and
like
and
an
everything is
accidental
plastic.
of your parent that somehow is
Maybe.
like taboo,
Yeah.
right? Which
Yeah.
also shouldn't be. There should be a discussion if those
Yeah.
things happen, in my opinion.
But
But
for-
the body,
But this is very
Just the body.
parallel. It's very parallel to how many women are getting labioplasties. You know what I mean? And people
to look a
to
certain
look
way.
a certain way as if that's what
I didn't
matters
know that was a
for.
thing.
Oh, honey.
That's a thing.
Oh my gosh, yes. The things that people
that's
do
the
as if
expectation
that
and
is what's going to make like you
someone
a healthy
wants
sexual
you
being.
to-
That
yeah.
Oh.
this is how you have to look. You have to remove all of the hair. This lip can't be longer than this. You have to have 2 testicles. For you to be like loved,
a
and be a
sexual
good
or
sexual
even a sexual
partner.
being. Yeah.
And the older guys like me in general I've already been like, dated 2 girls for like long-term relationships. I was aware and old enough to know that girls they didn't care. And so lots of times, those are some of the tips too that like an older mentor
Can give
can
to
say,
the
look,
younger-
you decide. I'm not telling you what to do. That's a big thing we coach our mentors is like, we don't tell people what to do.
just share your experience
Exactly. But we say like, this has been my experience.
and
you know?
openly, right?
And
The
openly.
pros and the cons.
Yeah.
Let them choose. We definitely do not give medical advice. That's like
Yeah.
the number one thing we coach our people because
course,
it's the doctors,
Yeah.
and the MDs that should be saying, you need this chemo, you need that surgery before this or after that, right?
But it helps to bring the right questions back to the doctors. If you have the questions, you have the answers.
Arm them
on-
with questions.
Right, you are. That's right. You have those discussions and you
Exactly.
decide what then applies to the right
Exactly.
patient.
And with me, like I just felt very comfortable. I was already 26. I'd been in 2 like long-term, longish term, multi-year relationships. So like I felt very comfortable dating. So I did not get the testicle, obviously.
Was it scary to
Have one now?
ejaculate the first time after going through things?
Talk to you. I want to. Can I ask a question?
Feels the same.
100%.
Not
Everything's
scary.
Everything's the same unless it's in your hand or your face is that close to it. I'm telling you,
Okay.
you can't tell a difference,
difference,
with one ball.
The
It's like it
scrotum
all
essentially
kind of hangs
is the
down
same
there.
unless you're feeling it, because the testicles are actually physically inside of a scrotum. So the scrotum outside will look the same.
It all just kind
You'll
of
just
hangs
have
down.
one
Exactly. You want?
ball inside
Yeah.
the testicle versus not the other. And sometimes, to be honest, if you're examining a scrotum, it's hard to find the second. So, it to an average experience, particularly a sexual one, you might not have any clue,
And also, isn't it
Or you're
fascinating
not
how it-
typically looking for 2,
Right. It's not what most people
not
are
like
doing.
is there 1 or 2 there? Yeah.
I hope everybody's getting some really good sex education, right?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I did have a question though.
Yes.
Specific to sex, and when you were going through this experience, did a doctor talk to you at any point about what sex
Now
would
that-
be
Now
like?
that ding, 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 ding,
Fertility
ding.
or sex or both?
Well, not fertility.
Okay, not fertility.
Sex.
Sex.
Right, because fertility is medical,
Yeah.
and
True.
we all
Yeah,
that's fine. What I mean by that is fertility is
Or sexuality.
Sex
Right.
is also medical, in my opinion, because it's part of the body, right? It's part of life.
Yeah.
For sure.
I see, having come out of formal training and now living this life, a very functional way of seeing the body and practicing medicine.
Right.
And sexual health is certainly a major part of that. So my question is, did anyone talk to you about sex when you were going through this process? Did any doctor or anybody along the way discuss or ask you even if you had questions about that?
They did not.
Yeah.
That's a good question. I don't think I've ever been asked that. I've been
We
asked,
addressed.
You haven't been asked that?
But
never
oh my
heard
God.
that.
we addressed.
no fertility they addressed.
But I don't
but
doubt for one second, not
Yeah.
one of you men
Yeah.
weren't thinking it.
Oh my God.
yeah. Oh,
Not
I was
one.
like, oh, there's no doubt with me.
Not
I was
one.
like, what is ejaculation going to feel like?
Think,
Yeah.
how is
What's
this
going to
going
happen?
to affect me?
Does it still come out?
having
Does stuff
sex?
come out? Does it not?
Oh my
Sex
God.
going to feel the
And so
same?
my point is, this is on every single
Yeah.
patient's mind.
I know.
One doctor
Right.
probably proactively
Yeah,
addressed it.
everybody needs sex ed, including doctors. Everybody needs sex
Sexual
ed.
health,
And
period,
sexual
right? Like
health.
sexual health.
Yeah.
In terms of this particular
So-
case, we hope Imerman Angels can solve that, because someone like me, like if my mentee asked me that question, I can answer
But
it.
so that's
to
the open
fill in some of
platform.
these gaps.
Yeah. We just have to
You broke
open up
down a lot of those
We have to
layers.
open up these taboos.
Because I'm just older.
So we're gonna wrap up. I would love to hear a tip from Jonny about connecting, even though I feel like we got a lot.
Yeah, we got a lot.
And then we're gonna do Amira explains it all. So Amira's gonna wrap us up. I'm gonna have out my timer. So can you just give people one tip about connection before we wrap up? And I'm gonna turn on my timer for you, Amira.
Absolutely. The last thing in closing, thank you guys so much for having me. You're wonderful energy. I feel like I've already known you for longer, but maybe just because you're close friends. But I love that you guys are buds. But I appreciate your energy and your openness, which I just we're only here for such a short
Not to
time.
love.
I mean, literally.
Back to Jonny.
So
Okay.
I would say, and you and I have talked about this multiple times, but I truly believe that there's unlimited win-wins out there. And once you see the world, I think hopefully all of us see the world at some point as a bunch of dots that sometimes are going in the other direction, where two dots come together. There's an infinite number of dots coming together to where everybody benefits. And those are that's my favorite. When you can make a connection, you do this every day, and you can make a connection where everybody's better.
I love that.
It's a win-win. There's no limit to them. If you look at the world potentially as just all these dots, and how do we put the puzzle together by connecting the dots? I think you're adding value, right, to the world. And if everybody had that attitude,
I love that.
feel like
There's
we would-
infinite
we would
dots to
solve
connect, infinite win-wins out there. I love
infinite
that.
win-wins.
I love
It's all
that.
about the win-wins, right?
Yeah.
It can't be that one person benefits and one doesn't.
Yes.
The smartest, best connections, matches, whatever you want to call it, relationships are when both sides benefit, and there's zillions of them out there.
Yeah.
That haven't been.
Zillions. Let's get technical.
Yeah.
All right, darling. All right, Amira explains it all. She's going to wrap us up with
try. This is
literally 1 minute. Can you do it? Tell me when you're ready.
Try your best.
You ready?
Go for it.
Go.
Okay. Well, I think the take home today is that life is going to hand you a bunch of unknowns, and you are never going to be free of trauma and hardships. And what you do with that is what matters. And Jonny today and Imerman Angels has shown you that you can take those traumas and those hardships and you can make them part of your healing process. You can share and you can give back, and you can bring literally infinite dots together and help a network in literally, in this case, bringing people who have literally, I'm making myself a mess here because I'm thinking about all these patients coming together. It's partly also because of my own experience. I'm diverting here because can you imagine something this on an autoimmune level, connecting these dots, right?
Should be there.
I just think it's really remarkable when you can take something and somebody in a moment when they are lost and they are feeling broken and connect them to somebody who can help them heal. So sorry, I lost my.
No, you said that
in the middle of it.
very
Beautiful.
eloquently.
I got that's beautiful.
That is beautiful.
Turned around.
And it should be.
May
Yeah.
it be so. May it be so.
I was just thinking to myself, I want that network for myself.
Yeah.
Yes.
We need more of it, not just in the cancer networks, right? There are so many ways in which people need to find somebody that they can relate to. You're seeing it more and more now with rare illnesses too.
We're going to wrap up. Anyway, I love you guys.
I
Thank you
got
so much.
diverted.
Love. Thank you, Jonny.
Thank you.